Here's how neediness is destroying or negatively impacting every single relationship that you have, whether it's personal, intimate, or work relationships, just random friends and acquaintances. It impacts all of them, okay? And in this video, I'll talk about where it comes from and how to approach resolving it, because you have to understand this. And all of us are needy to a degree, and human beings are social creatures. So of course we need other people to survive, but we're not talking about the need of other people to survive. We're talking about a psychological neediness, which is more than the rational need for other people. It's the kind of a desperation and lack that is deep and inherent, in a personality, in a psyche, which results in actions and behaviors that frankly pretty much repulse other people. And the reason why it repulses other people is one thing that you have to understand about social interactions, and human beings in general, is that people want to be around people that sort of fill their own cup, right? This is typically the case. Now, there are exceptions, of course, especially if you want to take care of someone, children and all that. It makes sense that, they don't fill their own cup, so to speak. But as so much as adults are concerned, or grown-up individuals, you typically want a person that sort of fills their own cup. Now, nobody is perfect in this, except maybe some cases. Everybody has certain limitations. Everybody wants certain kinds of approval or support from others. But you have to know that crossing the line from just having this decent amount, normal amount of support, and going all towards this desperation, right? This need, it has a weird sort of a smell. It creates a weird kind of atmosphere around you because it puts pressure on another person, basically to regulate your psychological states, to function as a kind of a psychologist or someone for you, which is why people don't like it, because it's a lot of pressure, right? It's like when that person is near you, you're feeling like they're asking something from you. And it's not even like, sure, they might want to help, but it brings a lot of responsibility. And frankly, the worst thing is, in vast majority of cases, it doesn't work, okay? The fact that somebody will give you some validation, let's say, you're a needy person and somebody gives you some validation, the reason why it kind of sucks and it's annoying or repulsive to other people is because that's not going to fill the void. Because the void is created by you and it's maintained by you, even if at like a subconscious and conscious level. So you can drop something in there, but it's like dropping something in a bucket with like no bottom in it. It just will go right through, and then literally the next second or the next minute, they're gonna go give me more, right? And it becomes very exhausting for everyone. So you have to understand the degree of responsibility that you have for other people, okay? That it's not their role, frankly, to do this. And most importantly, you don't even want them to do this. You have to understand this is a very bad position to be in. It's not a good position to be in. And just start evaluating it objectively, that do you really want to be in this? Now, talking about that, why do you even become like that? Well, many theories, typically, you would consider something like that occurring at childhood or something, where, you wanted your needs to be met and you didn't get them met. And the only tactic that you thought of, resorting to is asking for more, being more loud about it, and developing this psychological lack, right, that will allow you to behave in these ways that would request more attention, more validation, or whatever. So typically it's something that formulates like that. And here's the thing about your brain. A lot of these things become automatic habits. They just keep looping and looping and looping and looping and looping and looping, right? If you're not conscious of them, that is. So when they're looping like that and you sort of grow up and mature from these petty childhood desires, it becomes these adult behaviors, right? Like being in a relationship and being desperate for attention. Being in a relationship and being desperate to verify that the person is definitely not cheating on you and they're going to spend their whole life with you. This kind of weird expression on that. You could, even if you go in a work setting, it can be someone who's like very, oh yes, look at me doing this, right? And people are like, okay, that's nice. That looks kind of weird, But most importantly, it makes you feel weak and miserable because you're always dependent on other people. Now, the role of developing this sort of interpersonal intelligence, the ability to self-regulate, is so that you are less dependent on other people. Because being needy is like the unhealthy side of being dependent on other people. You need to be able to regulate your own emotions, at least to a degree, ideally as much as possible. And this is something that I spent many years developing in myself, because I'm just like a regular guy. But early on, when I was in my teens, I realized that I had to develop this capacity in myself, because that was like the bottleneck, at least in my case. The bottleneck was the self-regulation and the neediness, which I'm very familiar with. And here's the thing, you live life in a kind of a silent desperation, always trying to match your energy to other people, like you want them to validate you. So sort of a try to, okay, I'll be like you. I'll try to satisfy you. Okay, well, I'll be like you. I'll try to satisfy you. I'll be like you. I'll try to satisfy you. And I mean, a lot of problems stem from that. It's not just neediness. Neediness is like the core maybe issue of that, this need for validation, need for approval. But another thing occurs, which is sort of related to that, and you have to be aware of that, is that when you're so needy, you become unstable in yourself, because when you need something, you're like looking at the other person and going, okay, I'll do something, just give it to me, But what does that do to your personality? What does that do to your sense of self? It makes it unstable. It makes it where you don't really know who you really are, because you're always trying to please other people, which is neediness and people pleasing are very close knit, and very close to each other. So there's a whole host of these problems that occur. Not even talking about the fact of boundaries, right? Establishing healthy boundaries. And when other people do some things that should not be tolerated, where you should say, listen, you can't do this. You cannot do this. You won't be able to do that because your desperation for that attention, validation, energy, whatever, will be higher than the sense of self-preservation. This is how you end up in toxic relationships where people manipulate you and use you. All of these relationships with there's such a trend to talk about all these narcissists and all that and how they manipulated you and all that. Listen, I mean, fundamentally, there's many reasons. But one of the reasons why they're able to do that is because you're psychologically not mature, basically, infantile in a sense. You're needy. So when you see a person, like a healthily developed person, when they would see some sort of a narcissistic, selfish tendencies, they would just go, whoa, what are you doing there? No, I can see that, because I don't need stuff from you. I'm not desperate. So that's weird. Why are you doing that, right? And they would either recognize that and establish a boundary, or go, whoa, you're crazy. I don't want to deal with this. No, right? The ability to say no stems from your ability to self-regulate, right? Which is the antidote to neediness. So neediness is just one thing which is connected to a whole network of issues that it creates. And it's one thing where you really have to, this is the thing where you have to learn to self-regulate. You have to learn to resolve these issues and these traumas in order to get out of the cycle of neediness, because it will affect every single thing that you do. And I mean, frankly, it's very hard to be in a relationship, especially intimate, personal ones, when you're like that. It's hard to live life in general, right? Like this. Now, when we want to talk about resolving this, first of all, of course, you have to conceptually, intellectually understand this. You have to understand this, that first of all, you don't need other people. It is just a kind of a psychological hiccup, right? A habit, but it's not a reality. In other words, the first thing that you have to do is you have to stop blaming people for not fulfilling your needs. There's a time and place for that in healthy relationships, absolutely. But when we're talking about resolving your neediness, you have to reevaluate every single sort of request that you try to take from others, try to enforce on others. And just at least as an experiment, consider that maybe it's your own thing. Maybe you should be resolving that sort of stuff. The next thing that you should be doing is you have to be learning ways to regulate yourself. It can be meditations. It can be kind of self-love practices, right? Where it can be developing a lifestyle that is fulfilling for you, right? Developing your own hobbies, that you do by yourself, right? That you can self-fulfill. So on a practical level, it's these hobbies and lifestyle that you actually like, that you enjoy, right? At a deeper psychological level, you have to develop the capacity to calm down your mind, right? Get into the moment, get present, right? This is a practice that you do. At a deeper level, where it's like a bit of like rewiring, programming level, you have to consider what is the thing that you're lacking, that you feel like you're lacking, and you have to start considering its polar opposite, which is how would it feel to be validated? How would it feel to get that pat on the back and all that? And what you have to do is you have to basically, because maybe you're not living in a situation where somebody can give you that, or maybe they're giving you that, but you're not seeing it, which is also very possible. You have to start using active meditation practices to give that to yourself initially, to start practicing that ability to feel that, to recognize that. Okay? When you will do that, you will start noticing and getting a deep realization that, wait a second, I am capable of feeling verified, approved of, right? I can generate this feeling. And even if at first, like for a simple little exercise, I'm able to feel that. Well, wait a second, maybe that means that I don't have to be as desperate, right? But you have to show yourself, you have to show your brain that, and you have to do, like, if you want to fix this as fast as possible, you have to do these exercises, right? You have to train yourself, you have to think about this regularly. You have to get into these states, right? And fundamentally, another thing that you'll ultimately have to do is you have to release it. You have to realize that the thing that you're doing with neediness is you're placing a request on life which will never be fulfilled. Because fundamentally what you're saying is, I don't have enough, I need stuff from you. And it's never going to be enough. You have to understand this. Like, that's not how the world works, that's not how your psyche works. It's the fact that you're in a lack will mean that in 10 years you will still be in a lack. It might change its form, but it's still going to be the same thing. The people that you projected on might change, but it's still going to be the same thing. It's an important element for an adult to realize that they can regulate themselves, that they can do it themselves, okay? That they are enough in and of themselves. And resolving your neediness is one of those maturity tasks that I think every responsible adult has to do. This is why you need this sort of interpersonal intelligence, this ability to understand yourself, to regulate your emotions. And on the plus side, once you start resolving this issue, trust me, every single thing that you do in life will improve. Every single relationship, every work relationship, in terms of like interacting with people, even those that you don't directly ask for stuff, those relationships will improve because your overall energy will improve. You know, I made and will make videos about socialization. This kind of thing, that energy of I need, is very repulsive. The energy of I have it myself. I can fulfill myself. I don't really need this. So I'm just sort of a sharing, right? It's way more attractive. So those will improve. Fundamentally, a shift will occur in your mind, a very deep shift, where you will realize that, wow, I'm just okay being me. I am okay being with myself, and all those the issues that I mentioned, the boundaries, all that stuff, they will start basically auto-solving themselves by themselves. So it's a very exciting thing to do, and I definitely recommend it. If you want some personal help with that, I have some slots open up. I'm working in a main job, I'm studying, I also have multiple hobby careers going. So not a lot of spots, but I'm opening them up, and I'll be working with a few people on this kind of stuff. So there's a free ability to, check out a free coaching session just to see how it is. Check it out in the link below. Other than that, work on this stuff because it's very important and it will drastically improve your life. It's well worth the effort of getting through this. It will improve every single aspect of your life, especially your relationships with other people. It's going to be great.